Let's bring in Alan May now to dissect this trade. Biggest news of the day, I think, the Maple Leafs acquiring defenseman Joel Edmundson from the Washington Capitals for a pair of draft picks today, just over 24 hours prior to the NHL trade deadline. Great timing, Alan, to have you on to discuss this trade. What are the Leafs getting in Joel Edmundson?
I think what they're getting is a big defenseman. He's 6'5". You can't teach that. You can't grow that after you draft them. And he plays a vicious game on the wall, inside the defensive zone, in the corners, in front of the net, behind the net, anywhere inside the D zone. And he's a straight shooter. When he gets the puck in the offensive zone, he sends them to the net. He's not a playmaker. He's a first pass guy. And I like the simplicity of his game. I think Toronto actually needs more of that to be a playoff contending team. So there were a lot of teams in the hunt for Joel Edmundson, and they all wanted him for all the exact same reasons that I described.
And then Mantha to Vegas, cue the fire sale out of Washington. Your thoughts on that trade and what this means for the Caps franchise?
Well, first of all, for the Vegas Golden Knights, they get a player who is on his game this year. 18 of his 20 goals are at 5-on-5. That led the Washington Capitals. He basically played third line all season. One of the best defensive players at stopping rushes, one of the best offensive players at getting the puck into the zone. He's got more of a mindset to get to the net this year, to shoot the puck. And in my opinion, didn't get to play enough. So you put him in Las Vegas where they're missing Mark Stone now. He's a large 6'5" player that can skate. He can fight. He can hit. And he's totally engaged in the game now. I think he's figured out what he needs to do to be successful. I don't think he ever got a fair shake under Peter Laviolette, in my opinion. But with the Washington Capitals, trading these players away right now, they've got a lot of good players that played in Hershey, and a lot of them made the roster this year. They won the Calder Cup last year in the American Hockey League, and they've got players who are percolating, who are close to being ready. And I think you have to give those players opportunities and get them in the lineup, see where they're going to be. The Capitals have really been up and down all season, like 10-game segments where they're pretty good, 10-game segments where they're kind of struggling. And this gives the young players opportunities. It gives management, coaching, an opportunity as well to look at those players and see what they're all about and if they have NHL careers as regular players.
I saw the headline the other day, Golden Knights acquire Capitals forward, and I was like, oh, please let it be Evgeny Kuznetsov, because you know me, I love a good recovery story. It wasn't that. And maybe Vegas and Evgeny, maybe not a good fit right now. But what is your take on where he's at and what's next for him? He's been so great for you guys for so long.
Well, he had been very good for the Capitals, but I think it's time for a change of scenery. I don't know if it's going to happen, but he lost a little bit of trust this year with the quality of play, and now that we realize there were something behind that possibly, and you look at, the most important thing is make sure that he stays in recovery and that he does all the necessary steps to stay healthy and be the best person he can be for not just himself, but his young family. And when I look at him, he's the most talented player, in my opinion, outside of Sergei Fedorov. But as far as Capitals draft picks go, he's the most talented player they've ever had. A smooth skater. He can go up and down the ice, doesn't even need to lift his legs. But he needs to be motivated. And I think a change of scenery would be high motivation for him. And the only way I could see him leaving here is the Capitals would probably have to, they would have to eat half of his salary. He's got one more year left on it at $7.8 million. Probably have to entice you with a draft pick or a prospect. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the future holds for him. But I don't know if he'll ever play a game for the Hershey Bears. He's with them on the road trip right now. I think they're in Charlotte. I don't know if they play tonight or tomorrow. But he was dazzling. He was amazing. He could have easily won the Conn Smythe Trophy when the Caps won the Cup in 2018. And I've loved watching him over the years. He's also frustrated me. I've been very frustrated with him over the years about, I'm a big guy when it comes, I don't care what your salary is. Whatever it is, I want you to earn it. And I don't care if Ovi was making $750, if Beck Valentine's making $750. No matter what your amount is, I think you need to earn your money. I'm not sure if Evgeny had done that the last couple of years. So you definitely know how great he can be when he's totally engaged. And I think the best thing for him, if he really does want to play in the National Hockey League and be a guy that can help a team, is put his best effort forward. And the biggest thing is staying on the right side of recovery for his own health and welfare and benefit.
I'm sure you're tired of talking about the Capitals, and our viewers have questions for you that don't pertain to the Caps, but I just want to ask you about Ovi. I saw them come through here a couple of weeks ago. As you know, They were up in the third, lost. Panthers came back and won in overtime. How's Ovi dealing with the fact that clearly, is it officially a rebuild? Like, they're selling off. How's your star, who's in the twilight of his career, feel about this, do you think?
Well, the biggest thing, he understands the business of the game. Remember, he came here. There was a complete sell-off to get him, to make sure that, they were one of those teams that could get him. And it was between he and Malkin, and, they kind of bluffed everyone and made it sound like they were taking Malkin. They picked Ovi, and those first few teams weren't that good, even though he was that good. He's not the same player he used to be. I think he still has to elevate his play for the remainder of his contract and make sure he does everything he can in the offseason to reclaim his career. I want to see him end it as a true superstar. And as the team is selling off, he hasn't been at his best this year, but it's just part of the business, and everyone's got to deal with it because he needs to be better. Everyone needs to be better. Coaching staff, everyone on this roster, goaltenders included. No matter who gets the jersey, I want them all earning their money and putting their best foot forward. It doesn't matter who your teammates are. Once you pull that jersey on, you are an NHL player. Play like it, own it, go for it, and do everything you can to be the best you.
He mailed it in here that night, and I said as much, and I had Caps fans just jump down my throat, and I'm like, you can't live on what you did. It doesn't work that way, which is what you just said a lot more eloquently than I ever could. John in Edmonton writes in, he says, breaking news, the Oilers have reportedly acquired Troy Stecher from the Arizona Coyotes, according to Jordan Schmaltz. What do you think about the Oilers have done? Not just this move with Stecher, but Sam Carrick and Adam Henrique.
Well, they were in a lot of talks with the Capitals about forwards and bolstering their team. And the biggest thing I look at with this Carrick and Henrique is they add to the bottom six of their team. They're both gritty players. Henrique's got a lot more upside when it comes to offense, and I think appropriately placed, they help the Oilers. The Oilers, when I look at them, I watch almost every one of their games. That's my hometown. I love Connor McDavid and Draisaitl and what they've been able to do to revive that building, or actually build that building, basically. And it is kind of sad when you see them get dumped out of the playoffs. I think this gives them a better roster. I still believe they're one right-handed defenseman away from a trip to the finals. And if you get to the finals to win the cup, you need luck, you need health. That's part of the luck as well. And the right mix, the right formulation at the right time. Sometimes seventh defenseman like we had in Washington in 2018 with Michael Kempney, who may have been the eighth defenseman in Chicago at the time we got him. And for some reason, he fit in very well with John Carlson. I look at these guys going to Edmonton. They didn't sell their soul to go after these players. They appropriately fitted them. And they're not stuffing players, too many players like the New York Rangers last year. I couldn't figure out why did they keep adding players? Why did they get Kane? Why did they get Tarasenko? They play the exact same spot on the power play. And all of a sudden, no one's happy there. And, players they're getting bumped out of their ice time. All of a sudden, a little bit of Panarin a backseat, the Banajad a backseat, Tarasenko and Kane not getting to play as much as they can. And had you just taken one of them, I think you'd have been a lot better off. So I think Edmonton's been very methodical here in what they're doing. They've done something great under Knobloch, and I think they're a better team the way they played than the way they played last year. It's the system is so much better. They're a better defensive team, and these two players that they added up the middle really add to the quality of the hockey team.
We've got 60 seconds. Randy in Winnipeg wants to know your thoughts on Rasmus Sandin getting 5 years, $24 million from the Caps.
Well, I think for what they gave up last year for him, and he's pretty good at the puck. He's still got a lot of development as young defensemen do. It could turn out to be a bargain. It could turn out to be a tough one. He's got a lot of growth left. He's still a little up and down as a player, but the skating ability and the upside is there. It's a matter of the commitment without the puck going forward, and that's what the coach's job is, to teach these players how to be better. And everyone, when they're at home looking at their cap friendly and evaluating the contracts, remember, it's not your money. Don't worry about it. And just see where the chips fall as these contracts play out. There's been a lot of guys who have made top dollar, a lot of guys who have made bottom dollar that haven't earned a buck of those contracts. And I think Rasmus Sandin is a project in the making that has picked up his play in the last month. The upside is there. The commitment has to be also for him to be successful.
It's a busy day. Thanks for fitting us in, Alan. Appreciate it.
Take care, Rod. Thanks for having me.
Washington Capitals television analyst Alan May.